All right, let's talk about something you probably walked right past this morning and didn't even think about: fallen leaves. We're going to uncover the secret science that's turning this everyday, ordinary waste into something truly wonderful. So, really think about this for a second. When you see a pile of dead leaves on the ground, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm guessing it's probably not life saving medicine, right? Well, it might sound a little out there, but as we're about to find out, that connection is very, very real. First things first, we've got to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're talking about. This isn't just about the leaves in your backyard. Oh no. This is what scientists have started calling the billion leaf problem. Every single fall, unbelievable amounts of leaves and other plant stuff just drop to the ground. And for a long time, figuring out what to do with it all has been a massive headache. The usual ways of getting rid of it are slow, they cost a lot, and sometimes they even create whole new problems for the environment. But what if we stopped seeing it as waste in the first place? And that's where things get really, really interesting. Because hidden inside all those leaves is a kind of treasure. We're talking about nature's hidden sugar chains. So this hidden treasure is a molecule called a polysaccharide. Now, don't let the sciencey name throw you off. Just think of them as these incredibly long, really complex chains that are made of sugar molecules. They're basically nature's Legos, the fundamental building blocks that give plants their shape and structure. So why should we care about these sugar chains? Well, get this. The things they can do are just incredible. They have powerful biological properties. We're talking antioxidant, anti-tumor, even anti-cancer and immune-regulating activities. And it doesn't stop there. Outside of medicine, they're used to thicken the food we eat and as key ingredients in cosmetics. They're basically nature's ultimate multi-tool. But, of course, there's a catch. This amazing treasure is locked away. It's inside a vault. So scientists had to figure out a way to crack the code and unlock the plant's vault. And this quote from the research really just hits the nail on the head. It's not just about getting these polysaccharides out, it's about getting a high yield, getting a lot of them out to make the whole thing actually worth it from an economic standpoint. That's the billion-dollar question. So the whole process is like a super delicate heist. Scientists have to figure out how to break through the plant's really tough cell walls to get to the good stuff. But they have to do it so carefully that they don't damage the treasure while they're at it. So how in the world do they pull off this molecular heist? Okay, let's take a little peek inside the lab. Let's start with the classic, old-school way of doing things: hot water extraction. Honestly, the easiest way to picture this is just imagining someone brewing a giant, very scientific pot of tea. You just use hot water to try and gently coax the molecules out of the leaves. The upsides are pretty obvious, right? It's simple, it's easy, it's the way it's been done for a long time. But the downsides are pretty big. It can take forever, you need really high heat, and that heat can actually destroy the very polysaccharides you're trying to collect. So yeah, not always the most efficient method. Okay, now let's jump from the old school to the super high-tech with methods like pressurized liquid extraction, or PLE. This is where things get really clever. Instead of just using heat, scientists add another ingredient to the mix: pressure. So how does adding pressure change the game? Well, by cranking up both the temperature and the pressure, scientists can create something called superheated water. It's water that stays liquid way above its normal boiling point. And the supercharged water is a much, much better solvent. It just dissolves the polysaccharides and pulls them out of the leaf material way more effectively. The result? A much higher yield, and you get it in a fraction of the time. And the toolkit is full of other awesome gadgets. Scientists have developed a whole bunch of other cool approaches. There's ultrasound-assisted extraction, which basically uses powerful sound waves to literally shake the molecules loose. You've got enzyme-assisted extraction, which uses these tiny molecular scissors to precisely snip open the cell wall. And then there's microwave-assisted extraction, which zaps the sample with microwaves to heat it up super fast from the inside out. So, with all these amazing tools, what's the actual result? Well, this is where we see the real magic. This is where we see waste being turned into wonder. The key takeaway from all this research is that there's no single best method for every single type of leaf. The secret is figuring out the right tool for the right job. And when scientists get that combination just right, the results are absolutely remarkable. Take a look at this number. Using one of these advanced techniques, kind of like that pressure method we just talked about, scientists got a yield of nearly 25% from one type of leaf. Just let that sink in for a minute. They were able to turn almost a quarter of the total dry weight of that leaf, something that would have just rotted on the ground, into a highly valuable purified product. That is an incredible level of efficiency. And this chart right here just shows you how big of a difference these advanced methods make. It compares the yields from the same type of leaf, just using different techniques. See that first little bar? That's the traditional hot water method, just under 3%. But look what happens when you bring in ultrasound or pressurized liquid extraction. The yield just shoots way up. In this specific case, PLE was the clear winner. So what does this all mean for the future? As the researchers themselves put it, this is way more than just a cool experiment in a lab. This work could be instrumental in designing waste processing plants on a commercial level. We're literally looking at the blueprint for a whole new sustainable industry. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to end on. We started with just a common pile of leaves, but by looking closer with the right scientific tools, we found a hidden treasure trove. So it kind of makes you wonder, if we can find this much value just hiding in fallen leaves, what other stuff that we call waste is really just a treasure in disguise, waiting to be discovered?